This was meant to be a nice day. Why did you come? Mom's voice cut through the room like a cold knife. Her words weren't loud, but everyone heard them, especially my kids. My son looked up at me, his fork frozen midair. Should we leave, Mom? I smiled faintly, the kind of smile you wear when you're trying not to break. Yes, I said quietly. Right now. Hi everyone, my name is Alara Quinn, and this was the morning my mother publicly reminded me that I'd stopped being part of her perfect family a long time ago. It was supposed to be a calm family breakfast. Pancakes, laughter, coffee steaming in mismatched mugs. But the moment I walked in with my 2 kids, it felt like stepping into a silent trial I hadn't agreed to attend. My brother Mark sat there in his designer sweater, tapping his phone like the conversation was beneath him. His wife, Claire, offered a tight smile that didn't touch her eyes. And Mom, she looked at me the way people look at something that doesn't belong. Honestly, Alara, she sighed, buttering her toast as if she hadn't just gutted me in front of my children, you make things awkward when you just show up. I could hear my daughter's soft breath catch beside me. She was only 8 and already learning how cruelty can sound polite. The smell of maple syrup clashed with the bitterness in the air. I stood there, my pulse steady but my heart burning. I wanted to say something, to defend myself, to demand decency, but what was the point? They had decided long ago that my presence was a disturbance, not a belonging. So I gathered our things, reached for my son's hand and walked out of that dining room. Behind me, Mom's voice wavered, for the first time that morning, as she said, "You're overreacting." But I wasn't. I was just finally done. And what happened an hour later made her regret every single word she'd said to me that morning. The drive home was quiet. My son watched the world blur past his window, and my daughter kept clutching her stuffed bear like it was the only safe thing left. I tried to breathe, to steady my shaking hands on the steering wheel. But it wasn't anger that filled me, it was something colder. A kind of silence that settles after you've been humiliated one too many times. I'd been here before, different day, same ache. Ever since my divorce, Mom had made it her personal mission to remind me that I'd failed. She liked comparing me to Mark, the golden son with the perfect life. The one who never had to ask for help because Mom and Dad built his comfort piece by piece, from his college tuition to his first home. Me. I was the reminder of what they called bad decisions. When I reached home, my phone buzzed. A message from my mother. Next time, don't make a scene. You embarrassed the family. I stared at the text until my vision blurred. Then I laughed. A sharp, broken sound. Because what she didn't know was that her words didn't crush me anymore. They only confirmed what I'd already accepted. I wasn't part of their family. I spent that afternoon making pancakes for my kids just like at the restaurant. Except this time the laughter was real. No judgment. No cold eyes. Just us. And then, as if the universe was listening, my phone rang again. This time it was Mark, voice trembling, words falling over themselves. It's Mom. Something's happened. I didn't answer right away. I just stared out the window, the sky beginning to turn gray. Finally, I said, "What did she do this time?" Mark's voice cracked through the line. "She collapsed. Ambulance just took her. They said it could be her heart." For a moment I said nothing. The room fell silent except for the faint hum of the fridge. My daughter looked up at me, sensing something was wrong. My son whispered, "Is Grandma okay?" I wanted to say yes. I wanted to believe that even after everything she didn't deserve pain. But the truth? I didn't know how to feel. My chest tightened, not from worry but from the flood of memories that came with her name. All the times she'd told me I wasn't enough. The holidays I wasn't invited to. The countless "we're busy this weekend" messages that meant you're not wanted here. So I grabbed my keys. Because no matter how deep the scars ran, I couldn't let my kids see me be the kind of person my mother had been. When I arrived at the hospital, the air smelled of disinfectant and fear. Mark was pacing the hallway, his perfect composure finally cracked. His wife, Claire, sat in the corner, pretending to pray. "She's asking for you," he said. I froze. "For me?" He nodded, eyes wide. "She said your name. Over and over." I stepped inside the room slowly. The woman who once stood so tall and proud now looked small, fragile even. Her eyes fluttered open when she heard me. "Alara," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "You shouldn't have left this morning." Her words hit me like an echo from a life I used to crave. I sat beside her bed, staring at the machines that beeped between us. I just did what you taught me, Mom, I said softly. I finally listened. Mom's eyes filled with tears, and for a moment, I almost didn't recognize her. The woman who'd spent years crafting control and criticism now looked frightened, human. Elara, she whispered, I didn't mean what I said this morning. You just surprised me. You come in like nothing happened and... I cut her off, my tone calm. Like I still care. She blinked, startled by the steadiness in my voice. I wasn't angry, not anymore. I was simply done being her punching bag. I know you never forgave me, she murmured. But I wanted you here today because... Her voice broke. Because I wanted to fix it. I leaned back, watching the heart monitor's slow rhythm. You wanted to fix your guilt. Not me. There it was, the quiet truth between us. For years she'd measured my worth by Mark's success. When I married young, she called it irresponsible. When I worked 2 jobs to raise my kids alone, she said, you should have chosen better. Now she lay there, reaching for sympathy she had never learned to give. Mark entered the room, face pale. Elara, can you sign some forms? They need a guardian signature if Mom can't continue treatment. I frowned. Why me? He avoided my eyes. Because she listed you as next of kin this morning. I stared at the papers, my hand frozen midair. Mom had changed her emergency contact. After all these years. When I looked back at her, she was staring at me too. But this time her expression wasn't pride or disdain. It was regret. And in that quiet room, surrounded by machines and old ghosts, I realized something. My revenge had already begun. Not through cruelty but through clarity. 2 days later, Mom was stable but weak. Mark handled everything at the hospital, or so he said. But when I stopped by her house to pick up a few things she'd requested, something didn't feel right. The house was exactly as I remembered. Spotless, cold, lifeless. Every photo on the wall told the same story. Mark, his wife, their 2 perfect children. Not a single frame of me or mine. It was like I'd been erased from her history. While searching through her study drawers for her medication list, I found a thin beige folder labeled, Elara, closed. My pulse quickened. Inside were documents, financial statements, bank transfers, property details. And then I saw it. My name scratched out beside the deed of the family home. The signature line was empty, but the note scrawled in Mom's handwriting read, remove her before finalization. I froze. All those years I thought they'd just forgotten about me. They hadn't. They'd deliberately cut me out. Just then my phone buzzed. A text from Mark. Don't touch anything in Mom's room. I'll handle it. I stared at his message, heart pounding. How did he know I was here? That's when I noticed the small red light blinking on the bookshelf. A hidden camera. I let out a cold laugh. Of course, I whispered. You always were watching. I didn't take the folder. I took pictures. Every page, every line, every hidden transaction. By the time I left, I wasn't just Mom's daughter anymore. I was the only person who finally saw the truth. That my family had buried their lies beneath polished smiles and holiday breakfasts. And soon, everyone else would see them too. The next morning, Mark called again, pretending everything was fine. Hey, Mom's asking for you. Maybe bring the kids, it'll cheer her up. His voice was too smooth, too measured. Like someone rehearsing kindness. I played along. Sure, I said quietly. We'll be there soon. But before I left, I stopped by a friend's office. A family lawyer I'd known from my old job. I handed her the photos from the folder. Within minutes, her calm professional tone shifted. Elara, these are serious. Your name was on the deed originally. They can't just erase you. I felt something twist in my chest. Not anger but disbelief. So it was mine? Yes, she said. Legally, half of that property belongs to you. For years they made me believe I had nothing, that I was just a guest in my parents' world. And all this time they'd been living on what was half mine. I drove to the hospital with the truth burning like a quiet fire inside me. Mark met me at the entrance, his fake concern cracking when he saw my face. What's wrong with you? He snapped. Mom's sick and you're... I cut him off. Still on the house deed. He froze. His lips parted but no sound came. Don't look surprised, I said calmly. Mom left a lot of files behind. Including her plans to remove me. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. You don't know what you're talking about. I smiled faintly. I know enough. And now the lawyer does too. For the first time he looked scared, not of me but of exposure. I leaned in slightly, my tone almost kind. Tell Mom I'll visit soon. We have family matters to discuss. A week later, Mom insisted on another family breakfast. The irony didn't miss me. The same setting where she'd once humiliated me. This time I agreed. But I wasn't coming as the daughter who swallowed pain. I was coming as the woman who finally saw the whole picture. When I arrived, Mark's eyes darted to mine, nervous, alert. Claire avoided my gaze entirely. Mom, sitting at the head of the table, forced a smile. I'm glad you came, Alara. Let's start over. The plates clinked, coffee poured, but the tension was thicker than syrup. I waited for her to speak, to justify, to soften. Instead she said, Your brother told me you've been digging through things you shouldn't have. I set my fork down gently. You mean the house? The one that's half mine. Her hand trembled slightly around her cup. That's not how it works, Alara. We had to. You had to what? I interrupted. Pretend I didn't exist? Spy on me? Record me in your home. Mark shifted uncomfortably. You're twisting everything. I leaned back. Then maybe the bank statements I sent to the lawyer are twisting too. The silence that followed was brutal. The kind that strips away every layer of pretense. Mom's face went pale. Mark's jaw clenched. I looked around the table that had always felt like a courtroom. You wanted to erase me and now you'll sign everything acknowledging you didn't. Mom's lips parted, a faint plea escaping. Alara, please. But I wasn't done. I slid a single envelope across the table. Inside, a notice of legal ownership and repayment demand. This isn't revenge, I said softly. It's balance. Her hand trembled as she reached for it. The same hand that once waved me away. The following week, everything unfolded quietly, like fate exhaling after years of holding its breath. The house, the one that once belonged to them, now carried my name again. Wiggly. Permanently. Mom didn't fight it. Maybe she couldn't. Maybe deep down she knew this was never about property. It was about truth. About finally seeing her reflection without the mask of control. When I went to visit her one last time, she was sitting by the window at the rehab center, wrapped in a pale shawl. Her eyes met mine, tired, softer now. Alara, she said, voice trembling. I didn't realize how much I'd broken until you stopped trying to fix it. I sat beside her. For the first time in years there was no tension, no performance. Just two women, mother and daughter, staring at the wreckage of pride. I didn't want revenge, Mom, I said quietly. I just wanted peace. She nodded slowly, a tear slipping down her cheek. You deserve it. Outside, the wind stirred the autumn leaves, gold and fading, like endings that still held beauty. When I left, Mark was waiting in the parking lot. He didn't speak, just handed me a small envelope. Inside was a handwritten note. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I folded it carefully and slipped it into my bag. Some things didn't need to be said aloud. That evening, as I watched my kids laugh over pancakes in our kitchen, I realized something powerful. The peace I'd been chasing wasn't found in their apology. It was found in walking away and never turning back. The story ended where it began, around a breakfast table. But this time the smiles were real.